The following is a presentation of TFNN. Nine Before 9 with John Logan. 9 minutes on the stock markets before 9 a.m. every trading day. Call now, toll free, 877-927-6648, or internationally, 727-445-1044. Now, John Logan.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. Let's cover some ground here, 9 before 9. Let's take a look at the S&Ps. And, we talked about that big inflection point up top on the weekly, 2386 and some change here. And, man, what a launching pad the past 2 days. Getting back in that profile above 2341 obviously can't be short. Breath positive. 2 big days up, gap up, and then that massive run up yesterday. Here's the daily. But we're at that precipice here, weekly unfair highs. We might just kind of take a pause right now, but these S&Ps on the highs, NASDAQ obviously breaking above 6,000. You probably aren't going to want to look at this from the short side, even though we've had a pretty huge run up. We pierced it yesterday afternoon, came back. We're just kind of consolidating around these weekly unfair highs. So, the odds are not to really, look at this from the short side. The 10-year, we're going to hit that really quick. Not really, the worst reaction in the world with the market on the highs. Hadn't really started making new lows, just really in the balanced area. So that's the weekly. Here's the daily. Talked about being able to maybe look at this trade on the long side again above 125.20. Again, I think that's probably the easier trade out there than to play around with the S&Ps right now. If you had to bet on the S&Ps, I still think we're probably going to lurch a little bit higher here. The dollar just doing a little bit of backing and filling off of that pierce on the weekly balanced area, 99.63.64 up there. If we can get a retracement back up into that area, I think that's where you're looking at a decent short opportunity. You've also got a daily unfair low there. While we're on somewhat of a currency here, let's go into the currencies really quick, give you a heads up on these. The euro, looking at this one, had a pretty good bounce, obviously, off 105.86, right smack dab in the middle of a big, wide profile here. No edge whatsoever to trade this right now on the long-term weekly or the daily. Here's the 240s. You've got a short-term opportunity inflection point to pick about around 108.79.80, and then around at 108.45 rounded off. So those are the big numbers on the euro right now. I don't see any reason to really pile in any shorts. You're kind of in no man's land on the weekly and the daily there. The yen. Considering that the dollar may move a little bit higher, just kind of that backing and filling after piercing that weekly profile, putting that stake in the ground last week. The yen retracing back up into an area here, 111.67.68. Going to be, maybe a little bit of a wait and see on the dollar here. This is a weekly inflection point, and this was, former support, now resistance. Could take a shot here on the short term. Make sure you put your stops in on that trade. But again, keep your eye on the dollar. The dollar may retrace a little bit higher. Let's take a look at the British pound really quick. This was, kind of finally got out of the range. First time we had a close above since back in December of weekly profiles, so we haven't really looked back. And what we're looking at on this one, and I don't even know if we're going to get a retracement on it. We got a profile appearing below price action. That's really, really bullish on the daily. The weeklies had that breakout. We've been consolidating here, not really wanting to even pull back to any form of support. So we may move higher on the British pound. The dollar may back and fill a little bit up north. So, maybe wait and kind of let that dollar get up to that 99.63, 99.45, that general range before you start looking at some of these other currencies somewhat related to the dollar. Let's hit a couple other things while we're doing our 9 minutes here. Taking a look at the 30-year. We looked at the 10-year. We pretty much always look at the 10-year, but the 30-year is pretty much in the same wavelength as the 10-year here. No direction, no edge. We want to get back above 152.27 to even look at this from the long side on the 30-year. Just very interesting how these notes and bonds are holding in there. Gold, really told you yesterday, just wait until we get to that 1260.5 area. That happened. Got down to 1262. Right now trading about 1264, 1265. So I think we're at a pretty decent area to pick a battle on gold. This was kind of that breakout, come back and retest. So now that you've been patient, hopefully 1272, 1273 was a chance, and now you've got, I think, a bigger chance around 1260 here on the long side. Crude. Ugh. No way to trade this from the long side. Yeah, the easier way to trade this is to really get into our scanner, get into our energy sector. If you're trying to find ways to get long crude here, there's been some decent little trades in here. Williams Companies, WMB. Let's take a look at this one. Just here's the daily. Just was really, let me get rid of this so we can see a little bit better. Here's the daily. Really was sitting on support, not wanting to go down with crude. Again, you're trying to find little gems in here to try to increase the odds to try to trade crude. EQT, Cabot Oil, a couple other ones here. Phillips 66. Let's take a look at that one. All right, so pretty good move up. You got to wait now. We've kind of reversed up into the weekly profile here, but now you've got to wait until we get a little bit more higher move above 77.95 and use that as support to possibly move higher. A couple other particular oil stocks just to keep your eye on. Let's take a look at TSO. This is our daily here. This is our weekly. So getting back above 81.27 on TSO would be something to kind of keep on your radar screen. All right, let's hit a couple other things before we got to cruise and let Larry take over. November beans. All right, we want to hit this again because just to remind you, I don't know if there's any big reasons to trade this until we get the 950.5 or up into 978.25. It's going to be a lot of noise in here right now. Remember what John from Philadelphia said, those lottery tickets up top might not be a bad idea this time of year. And Basil is taking over for Larry possibly. He just notified everybody in the den here. So possibly stay tuned for Basil. I don't think Larry's going to be doing his show this morning. Guys, you've been great. I hope Basil will do Larry's segment, and stay tuned for all the hosts on TFNN today. And call in tomorrow morning anytime during our 9 minutes, and maybe we can answer some questions. Thanks, guys.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.